See, dumb guys don't understand. They do that on the club level fight. Opponents, because they say, yo, I don't want to get knocked out by this guy, so I'm going to come in heavy. They're going to need to fight because they got to take the fight because they can kind of get the numbers. That's what they do on the lower end. But now they flipping the strip and doing it on the high end. You know what I'm saying? So that practice, you will start seeing that a lot now. But
Gervonta Davis's situation has become worse. He went from having a controversial draw in his last fight to facing a new accusation from his trainer, who claims that Davis has been taking performance-enhancing drugs. This is shocking, especially considering how many fights Davis has won. It is surprising to think that he might have been using these drugs for many of his fights without anyone noticing. This accusation came from his trainer, Calvin Ford, and it is linked to what happened between them after Tank's fight against Lamont Roach.
You guys calm down and listen to me.
Hey, come on now. We're trying to get it. There you go. That's what they do. There you go.
Tank had never fought a match without Calvin Ford in his corner since the beginning of his career.
It just went like you said. It was. We looked at 3 rounds. Brian was calling out, yo, I need 3.
For the first time last week, Tank fought without Calvin Ford in his corner, and the result was clear for everyone to see. What stood out the most was Tank's actions toward Calvin Ford, disrespecting his coach for no reason during one of the later rounds. When Calvin told Gervonta to be more careful, Tank yelled, "Calvin, calm down and listen to me." Many in the show boxing community found this rude. One fan said, "I pity that man."
He made me do it. They start to see. Promoters know these things. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to, in the words of Floyd Mayweather, I'm just trying to keep the playing field even. That's how he said it. That Floyd said it like that. I'm just trying to keep the playing field even.
And the safety of the sport.
And the safety of the sport.
Right. 100%.
Another person put themselves in Gervonta Davis's shoes, saying, "If I had someone like Calvin Ford do for me what he did for Tank, I'd be forever grateful to him, and he'd never lack anything in his life." One fan strongly condemned Gervonta Davis's actions, calling him an evil person. "Tank is so wicked, I really can't be cool with someone like that. He's an ingrate despite everything Calvin did for him." Then he'd come and say Calvin is his dad. Calvin Ford has now revealed the real reason behind their split.
Get an eyebrow out of people. Like, you know how the Rock, when he put the eyebrow up, and he did get it.
It's important not to only listen to one side of the story. However, if everything that has been said is true, then Gervonta Davis must be very different from the amazing boxer Calvin Ford knew him to be. Calvin Ford went on to talk about what happened between them, sharing the sacrifices he made for Davis. He also spoke about how he has been there for Gervonta, fulfilling his promise to watch over him for the rest.
Everything just happened.
That's right. I feel you, bro.
Y'all get what I'm saying?
That's right.
Sadly, Ford has received nothing for his efforts and has already given up on Tank. This is why he's now trying to expose Gervonta Davis in any way possible. Calvin Ford appeared in a live interview where he revealed that there is more to Gervonta Davis than meets the eye. While Tank has been hiding behind his invincible career, impressive knockout ratio, and large fan base, there is a lot of corruption happening behind the scenes. Ford also shared that Tank's major weapon has been his psychological...
Yeah, they're getting their excuse ready.
Say it again?
They're getting their excuse ready. Come on, they lose.
Come on. I just know this right now, like, we ain't in the personal game, but again, we sending a message through him for the rest of them. He's playing boxing. They ain't giving him the real strip.
Anyone who can withstand Tank's bullying will most likely be able to handle his power. This is exactly what happened in his fight against Lamont Roach, where Tank tried everything to bully the Washington fighter. But when Roach outwitted him, Tank began to struggle and could hardly do anything to save himself. This also happened a few years ago, when Gervonta Davis faced Isaac Cruz and went the full 12 rounds with the Mexican Pitbull. Cruz was able to withstand Tank's bullying tactics, making it one of the closest fights of Davis's career. Now Calvin Ford has revealed another major weapon that Tank uses against his opponents: performance enhancing.
Everybody leave out and sit there and say, gosh. Then the rest of them behind this want to think about it. They don't give us our props. We don't want no props. We want to, like, show them this is boxing, right?
With these medications, Gervonta Davis has a physical edge over his opponents, allowing him to lose early rounds and take punches without getting fatigued. His strength largely comes from the performance-enhancing drugs he takes before fights. For some reason, the boxing governing bodies have either not discovered this or have chosen to overlook it. However, Calvin Ford is revealing this now, so the public can understand who Gervonta "Tank" Davis really is and all that he has done to achieve his victories.
They handle that. Our job is to handle the fighter. The fighter's job is to handle the fight. So when he speak about his team, this is team right here.
Calvin, do you feel disrespected right now?
No, I feel disrespected as the shots that he shot, and they kept going with that same narrative.
Calvin Ford is saying this because he's ready to put Gervonta Davis in serious trouble and strip him of all his boxing accolades. Ford plans to push him toward a loss in his next fight, which is coming up soon after one of the more controversial matches in recent boxing history. On March 1st, Gervonta Davis fought Lamont Roach Jr., and the fight ended in a majority draw. The entire boxing community has been eager to see a rematch so that the controversial decision from the first fight can be put behind them.
All this fight, that was the first fight in a long time when Tank first started. His body was that defined.
It quickly became clear that both sides were eager for a rematch, and an expert from Sports Illustrated, Chris Mannix, confirmed this by writing that a Tank Roach rematch could happen as early as June 21st in Las Vegas. Both sides are now committed to running it back, with the date and location for Davis vs. Roach 2 seemingly being finalized. There has been a lot of social media debate among fans about which of these world-class boxers will come out on top in the second showdown. Some fans are backing Roach, with one example being a post from an ex-user who shared 2 photos from the first fight saying, "Roach is beating that guy again, mate."
Are you open to immediate rematch?
In my contract, immediate rematch was signed. I signed for the immediate rematch when I signed for the first fight.
Right.
Just in case he lost or just in case it was a draw.
So when you got a rematch clause...
Another fan posted a gif of a cockroach wielding a lightsaber, clearly showing their support for Roach. On the other hand, some fans are backing Davis for the rematch. One fan wrote, "I thought Roach won the first 5-1-13, but I think Tank will make adjustments and win the rematch." Another added, "I think Roach will be very competitive, but Tank will KO him in the later rounds." The hype for this fight is only going to grow as the expected rematch date approaches. However, before the rematch happens, the boxing community needs to address the issue of Gervonta Davis's use of performance-enhancing medications.
He said he opened to do a rematch. You want to fight?
100%. It's only a matter of time. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight again. It's just whenever the fight gonna happen.
So it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Okay. They say they want in New York.
We understand why Gervonta Davis stood so firmly in defense of Ryan Garcia during his suspension. It wasn't just a situation where one of the team members got caught and the others backed off. Instead, Davis stood up and defended Garcia against the entire boxing world. This was because he was secretly worried about his own fate, as he has been accused of being a dirty fighter, according to these recent revelations.
And go look at Ryan versus Devin, and go look at my fight versus versus Ryan. You can tell that Ryan didn't look no different. If he looked any different, he probably looked worse. He just was a bigger person, much slower.
In the midst of Ryan Garcia's PED case, Gervonta Davis took to social media to express his outrage at the attempts to discredit Garcia's recent victory over Devin Haney. He bluntly stated that they are doing anything to take away the win from Ryan, showing his solidarity with his fellow boxer. Davis condemned what he saw as a concerted effort to undermine Garcia's achievements in the ring. He was so determined to defend Garcia that he also directed his criticism at those supporting Devin Haney. Hours after the news broke, Davis went on X, formerly Twitter, with a scathing message for those accusing Garcia of cheating. Surprisingly, Davis leapt to Garcia's defense despite the fact that Garcia had tested positive for a banned substance on 2 separate tests, the day before and the day of his upset win over Devin Haney.
You gonna walk
What's the beef with Eddie Hearn?
That's the question I'm with. He's a snake in a suit. That's all. He's a snake in a suit. Bro, he let what's the guy's name? Conor Ben test positive and was still going.
A now deleted tweet, the Baltimore native wrote, "They are doing anything to take away the win from Ryan. If that's the case, ban Eddie Hearn, Silver Spoonhead."
Or does it need
No,
to be?
because I can't trust Eddie Hearn. You can't trust Eddie Hearn. You can't at all. He's a snake in the suit.
Why are you standing with Ryan Garcia over this? How can you stand with Ryan Garcia over the failed test?
See, another thing. You know why I'm back in.
Davis quickly realized that one tweet wasn't enough to express his disdain, so he took another shot at it in a follow-up tweet, which was also deleted. He bashed the entire boxing world for backing Garcia while accusing Eddie Hearn of some serious stuff. The whole boxing world is straight cesspit. Every boxer on my timeline that claims Ryan cheated, to hell with them. He got to cheat when he fought? Nothing came back positive. He fought on the side of Daz and with the promoter clearly wanting his fighter to win and got put. Eddie is known for doing dirty stuff, wrote Davis. Hearn, who has a long-standing relationship with Haney and has frequently promoted him since 2019, didn't take kindly to the remark from Davis. I mean, he blamed me. Really? The guy's an idiot, Hearn told IFL TV in response to Davis's post.
You see how serious why didn't it take 72 hours for the test to come back, right?
Came back after the fight, yeah.
Right. So why ain't come out that Tuesday or that week next? They waited till Canelo fight to push that he had something in his drug. Then once they
I listened to Gervonta Davis. It is so painful listening to this guy who knows absolutely nothing, right? And he's like, I don't know if you saw the clip. He's like, yeah, what I want to know is like.
To Davis is that he really talks a lot of smack, but why does he delete his tweets? Can he stand by what he says? He comes out and says, yeah, Eddie Hearn is a dirty guy for doing this, but then deletes it right after. What's that about? Tank then insisted that Garcia was being set up and took another shot at Hearn, prompting the promoter to confront the undefeated star in private messages. Interestingly, it's Ryan Garcia's father, Henry, who has now spoken out about Gervonta Davis's fight with Lamont Roach and has offered advice to Davis ahead of their rematch. As Davis prepares for what's expected to be a rematch later this year, one veteran voice in the sport is making headlines for calling out what he sees as a critical flaw in Tank's current game, a flaw that could cost him again if it's not addressed. Henry Garcia, father and coach of Ryan Garcia, didn't hold back when offering his honest assessment of Tank's latest performance. Speaking to Fight Hub TV during a press conference for Ryan's upcoming fight, Garcia Sr. made sure to voice his concerns.
Hunter being the head trainer and Coach Calvin being outside.
Yeah, but he snapped at Calvin too, so that's, there was something going on. I really don't know, and I couldn't really speculate.
His age is catching up to him. The legs aren't there as they used to be, Garcia Sr. said, suggesting that Gervonta Davis no longer moves with the same explosiveness he once did. This was a shocking take for a fighter who's only 30 years old. Garcia also questioned a major coaching decision Davis made ahead of the fight with Roach. Instead of having his longtime mentor Calvin Ford lead his corner, Barry Hunter took charge, sparking speculation. Garcia Sr. believes this switch may have played a role in Davis's underwhelming performance. He switched his trainer, which could be another factor, he said. However, Ford later clarified that Hunter took over simply due to scheduling conflicts, not because
Then was bothering Tank, because Tank is a good fighter and he's out to hurt you, but hey, Lamont Roach stood his ground.
When asked if he believed Davis had done enough to win, Garcia didn't mince words. There's no way you can say that Tank won. There's no way. Despite the controversy, Davis remains undefeated, but with his reputation now on the line, a rematch with Roach is reportedly in the works for June 2025, according to Boxing Kingdom. The rematch may take place in Las Vegas, although some insiders are pushing for a return to New York, where their first bout was a sellout success. Michael Woods, a respected boxing journalist, pointed out that both fighters are East Coast natives, making New York an appealing option.
You could say Tank won. There's no way.
Do you think that he's diminished in some way, or do you think that just mentally he just wasn't there for the fight?
Well, a little bit of both. His age is catching up to him. His legs aren't there as he is.
Given Tank's star power and Las Vegas's reputation as boxing's mecca, the final decision will ultimately rest with Davis and his team. However, if Davis wants to maintain his standing as one of the sport's elite and avoid another disappointing result, he'll likely need to address the concerns raised by Garcia and others. His mobility, trainer alignment, and overall sharpness will be under a microscope heading into the rematch with Roach, as both fighters are eager to prove the first fight wasn't a fluke. With Davis determined to reassert his dominance, fans can expect fireworks when they meet again. The big question now is, can Davis silence the doubters and show that he's still the same fighter who took out Ryan Garcia in devastating fashion? Or is his era as boxing's lightweight king starting to slip away? Against Henry Garcia's advice, we will most likely see Barry Hunter in Davis's corner again, especially considering the fact that Davis and Calvin Ford don't look like they'll be back together.
2 or 3 o'clock, I don't know, track of time, dates and everything. Yeah, it was a spirited fight. And if you remember earlier on when we spoke at the Barclays, and actually on the All Access, I told you then, Lamont, the very skillful fighter. He can fight, he's from the area.
Barry Hunter failing to get a win in his first fight. It's likely the same will repeat itself when Gervonta Davis faces Lamont Roach again. It was supposed to be another routine night at the pugilistic office for Davis and his team this past weekend. From the moment his showdown against Roach was announced, Team Davis never appeared concerned or unnerved. Roach was a familiar face, with a respectable record, and while he did hold a title, he was considered the smaller man and viewed as a sizable underdog. Roach, however, fought like a man with something to prove from the beginning. He boxed beautifully from the outside, and when Davis forced him to abandon the jab and fight on the inside, Roach had no issue adjusting.
A lot of talent, and nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to lose. So I knew it was going to be a hard.
By the time the final bell rang, fans inside Brooklyn's Barclays Center stood dumbfounded. Although they had enjoyed 36 minutes of pure violence, they were unsure who would be awarded the victory as the scores were slowly being tallied. Team Davis patiently waited, but in the end, the grins on their faces were wiped away as their man was forced to settle for a majority decision draw, the first time in his pro career that Davis walked out of the ring without an official win. As he slunk into his chair backstage, his team, including Barry Hunter, shook their heads in disapproval at the decision. Hunter, who was pushed into the leading role ahead of Calvin Ford, believes the judges got it wrong. From his vantage point, Davis had his hands full.
I told you earlier Lamont Roach was ever a cheap date, so we knew that going into this fight.
There would be no point in being dishonest about it, but Barry Hunter is fully convinced that during the last few rounds, Davis turned a close back-and-forth battle into a clear-cut win. "We take our hats off to the other side," Hunter said to E! News. "But I thought down the stretch, the last 2 rounds sealed the deal. I thought we pulled it off." The only hope for Gervonta Davis in the rematch is if he takes his craft as seriously as he said he would after the fight. The disappointing draw against Lamont Roach made him reveal that he was only going to take a week off.
In mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, from a guy that...
Of whatever is happening with Gervonta Davis, boxing fans are heavily anticipating the rematch against Lamont Roach. And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications to be alerted when we drop quality content like this. Until next time, peace out.